write out every single morning, what would I absolutely love to do in my life, and get handsomely paid to do it. And see what pattern keeps appearing, see what keeps coming up. You're going to see that same pattern that might be in that thing. Am I doing that thing right now? Well, if I'm not doing that thing right now, how can I naturally gravitate towards getting to do that thing that I'd love to do every single day of my life, and get paid to do it?
Meet Seamus Fox. Seamus is a seasoned coach, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and a podcaster with over 20 years expertise in the personal development industry, working with all things mindset, human behaviour and personal performance. Throughout his career, Seamus has worked with high achievers, from elite level athletes to top tier business leaders, helping them unlock their true potential and elevate their success to new heights. Whilst working alongside hugely successful individuals, Seamus brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise that I cannot wait to share with you. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea or whatever you fancy. Prepare to be inspired, because you're watching the official Young Hunger podcast. My name is Michael Burgess and we present to you Mr. Seamus Fox.
Hey guys, my name is Seamus Fox, and I am a coach and mentor to CEOs and business leaders, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to Michael on today's podcast.
Mr. Seamus Fox, how's it going, sir?
All good, man, all good.
Thank you for coming down, or us coming to Derry.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is your hometown.
This is my hometown, yeah. We're in the AMP here in Edmonton, in the waterside in Derry, yeah.
Yeah, so you grew up in the 80s?
Grew up in the 80s, born in the 80s, 1981. I'll be 44 next month.
Right.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up, Michael.
But you grew up in the 80s. The Troubles, I suppose, was all popping off in Derry.
Yeah.
How was that growing up?
Well, I suppose, grew up at the tail end of it all, really. You know what I mean? So I was born 1981. So when I was coming into the late 80s, 90s, things were beginning to change. I'm the youngest of 7, so all of my older siblings definitely went through a lot of the worst times and the Troubles here in the north, for sure. So they were all born in the 60s. They lived in the Brandywell and the Bogside in Derry at that time when it was pretty rough. My parents kind of seen that, knew that, understood what was going on, and moved them out. And we moved to Galia, which is kind of on the outskirts of Derry, really. So they moved them out. So when I was kind of coming through 80s, early 90s, things were kind of beginning to change. Obviously, you've seen your fair share of stuff that was going on, and there was still a lot of troubles that was going on. But
yeah,
gladly, I kind of escaped a lot of the worst parts of the Troubles that definitely went on, for sure.
What was it like? I suppose you were maybe finding yourself in groups of young boys, and maybe, how would you say it, the wrong type of crowd, maybe? Did you ever find yourself? Yeah,
well, look, as I said, like when I come out through school, I left school at 15, 16, didn't really get school, to be honest. I didn't really enjoy it. There was nothing in school that really inspired me. And if I look back, I thought, I always kind of see myself as pretty bright, but I didn't get anything from school. There was nothing there that I wanted to study. There was nothing there that I wanted to learn. So when the opportunity came to leave school, I was out of there.
Yeah.
In fact, coming on the 5th year, I just probably wasn't even there a lot of the times anyway. I was kind of in one time, I was back out again. Didn't sit any qualifications or any GCSEs, etc. Left. And just got into trying to get a job as a labourer and all sorts. So when you're 16, 17, you think you know it all.
Yeah.
I thought I knew it all as well. And then get lost, just literally lost, and fell into different types of environments, as you say, and the circles. Where I grew up in Galia, and Galia is still probably one of the most kind of economically deprived areas in the north. So my environment at that time was just kind of, again, same types of people going out and like partying and doing their thing, and just trying to find their own path and trying to find their own way. And for sure, I got caught up in a lot of different circles and kind of caught up in certain environments that, as a parent, I definitely wouldn't want to see my kids kind of in and around. So, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons at that time as well too.
Yeah. 100%. What was in the head of Seamus back then? What was the dreams or goals or?
To be honest, if I'm being totally honest, I don't know if I had any like really big dreams or goals. When I was younger, it definitely was all around sport. Played football from a young age of 7. right through to about 17. Loved football, loved sport, did a bit of boxing. I've always been involved in sport. That was always something that was present all the time. But there was no way in terms of like a dream or goal or vision or anything like that. I was literally just trying to find a job. I was living out my own from a young age, 17, 18. So I was trying to find work, trying to find money, trying to like find something that was giving me some sort of sustainable income.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was trying to do for the first part after school for a few years. Just literally trying to kind of find a path, trying to find out who am I, what am I supposed to do, what is it that's really important to me, and it took a bit of time, to be honest.
I did a wee bit of research into you, and I seen you do a book. You have a book and stuff, and it was like the car crash.
Yeah.
Is it 21 or 22 or something?
Yeah, about 23.
What happened there, or how did that, I guess, affect
come
your
about?
life? Yeah.
Yeah, so as I said, probably from about 17 to about 20, I was trying to find work, trying to find a job, and the career, for the want of a better word, was selling counterfeit goods all around the markets in Northern Ireland. I was selling them in Oma. We were selling like tobacco and fags and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And again, just
hustler.
Yeah, that's it. Trying to make a pound. Really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Trying to make a pound. So we were selling tobacco and cigarettes and like CDs and all that sort of stuff. I was probably about 18 or 19. And a lot of my thing at that time, Michael, was just, go to work, get a few quid, go to the weekend and party. And that's kind of what I was doing. But it was probably around 21, 22, that just started to become, a real kind of negative, destructive pattern. It was going on a wee bit too long. And it was probably, I think, around 22, 23, I had a flat in Galia. I had a bottom floor flat in Galia in a place called Alcar, if anybody's familiar with it. And we were partying in there for about 2 or 3 days. No real recollection of getting into the car. It was a Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. And the next thing I kind of really remember was that the airbag smashed me in the face and literally woke me up. I don't know if I was sleeping or whatever, but I just went straight into a wall at the Brandywell Stadium in Derry. And when I got out of the car, it was just commotion ensued. There was a guy there that thought that I was a joyrider. He came, smashed me, and I smashed my head off the floor, off the concrete. Deservedly so. Looking back, me as an adult looking back, there was kids going to play football. Parents were taking their kids in to play football. It was a Saturday morning and it was a busy area. And there I am, like, cruising through the road and going straight into a wall. So that was a massive wake up for me. I tried to run away at that time, try to get away from the police. The police were coming, and the police arrested me. And thankfully, they arrested me. It took me a long while to kind of realise that. But looking back, it was kind of a turning point. So they arrested me, took me to the police station, the Strand Road in Derry, put me into a cell, took me back out again. They did my bloods, and then they let me out. And they let me out that night. The next morning, I woke up in the flat, and I was covered in blood. And I was like, what just happened? Really starting to ask myself these questions, like, what went on, what happened, what am I doing? Really, what am I actually doing in my life here? So that was a massive wake up. For the weeks after, I was as low as a snake's belly. Guilt and like, what if this had happened? What if that had happened? A real sense of gratitude as well that something worse didn't happen. A couple of scratches and stuff like that. That was all. I was also then, like, at the same time, due to my work and so-called career, I was in court for nearly a year for another, like, I was caught basically selling counterfeit goods. So I was trying to get that out of the road. And I remember, like, going, right, once I get this wrapped up, I'm going to create some sort of change. I want to do something different with myself. Like, I need to. It was kind of at that point, there was a bit of necessity there. It was like really, and I love that quote by Jim Rohn. He says, change happens through inspiration or desperation. And I felt that was the point I was at. I needed to change something. And it's funny, and we can talk about this as we go. One of my highest values has always been health and fitness. One of the things that I've always loved has been health and fitness. And when that happened, I got back into training again. I got back into going to the gym again. I stopped going out. I stopped, like, partying. I was, like, separated myself from a certain environment. And I got into bodybuilding kind of for the first time. And there was a guy here, he's a friend of mine, Big Dave Fox. He owns a gym called Pro Gym. And I got into that gym and it was all bodybuilders. And I was this wee skinny, scrawny guy getting into this gym full of like big bodybuilders at that time. And I was like, like these are kind of scary dudes. Like they looked scary, they weren't. They looked that wee bit scary. But I remember going to a show in Belfast actually. There was a place called the Park Avenue Hotel and it was a NABA Northern Ireland competition. And I remember sitting with Dave and said, geez, I'd love to step on that stage next year. And he says, well, if you put your head down, go and do it. So I did. That was like a wee switch for me. I was like, right, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And it was literally about a year, maybe 18 months later, I competed in that show. I won the first timers, NABA Mr. Northern Ireland. And winning that show gave me a platform. It gave me like some sort of credibility almost in the fitness space. And then that's how things began to shift and change. I started then as a personal trainer, and then a career started to kind of shape and form out of that. So looking back at that incident sometimes, and I wrote a book on it, as you said, From Self-Sabotage to Success. That event was something that really began to get me back in the alignment with who I really am, what I'm supposed to do, and understanding what my purpose is. And from that point onwards, it kind of created a career of coaching for the last 20 years.
If the crash didn't happen, where do you think you'd be?
Exactly. So that's what I mean. Sometimes you can look at some events in your life and think it was a crisis, but there's always a hidden blessing. For sure. And that's why even I've changed my terminology of sabotage. I don't believe there is such thing as sabotage, no, because we only do things if we perceive a benefit in it. And even the most destructive thing that we might get caught up in, there's a hidden benefit in it. There's a motive there for us in some way or form. So even though that was destructive in its nature, it was also a blessing because it got me aligned with being me and understanding what's most important to me, and beginning to create the things that I needed to create in order for me to change the path that I was on, basically.
I feel like that crash nearly had to happen for you to be...
To make some changes, yeah, for sure.
What was the thinking of the you then, and then like to compare that to the you now? Like that's mad difference.
Two different people. Like as I said, I'm 44 next month. No, I've gained a lot of years and wisdom and studying and understanding from that point. It's literally two different people. Like that was just a lost kid. That's who that was. Just a 23-year-old lost kid, didn't understand himself, hadn't really got any like knowledge of his own potential or who he was supposed to be, and just kind of caught up in the patterns and the environments of everybody else. Like, I wasn't any different from anybody else. And most of the people that I was running around with were just caught up in the same patterns, partying and doing all that same stuff. So from who I am now to then, it's just literally is two completely different people.
If that guy seen you now, what do you think he would say? Is there anything you'd be like, you think he would believe it? Do you think he'd be...
I don't know if he'd believe it. I think deep down, if I'm being totally honest, like deep down, I always thought I should be doing something different. I always wanted to do something different. I wanted more for myself. That's why I was like selling all those things that I was selling in the markets and trying to make a pound. I was always working. Like from a young age, my older brothers were like either doing milk, or they were like in bread deliveries, or they were out doing something. They were doing some sort of work, and I was along them. So I would have been out in the milk run with Emmons maybe throughout the week, or I was out in the bread run along with those guys as well throughout the week. So I was always working, like selling papers and doing something. I was always like trying to create something for myself. So I've always had let's say a good work ethic. You know what I mean? I've always had that for sure, and I've always wanted something for myself. I've always wanted to be my own person. And even though I was doing those jobs, I was still just trying to create something for myself.
Did you ever find it hard to break away from the environment you were in back then? Because in a way, it's like you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with and things. How did you like break away from that essentially, or did you? And
that's the thing. Like now, it's so different. You can go onto social media, and you can pick up information from this person or from that person. You go and listen to a podcast like this, and learn from somebody. Like, there wasn't really an environment that I could have maybe looked at that time and went, right, I'm going to go and speak to this person, or I'm going to go and speak to that person, or there's a coach, there's a mentor. Nobody was even coaching or mentoring at that time, really. So it wasn't really a thing. The only thing that I got myself involved in in terms of getting myself out of that environment was training. I just dedicated myself to competing. I dedicated myself to getting myself in the best shape that I could possibly get into. And by naturally doing that, it naturally kept me away from those other types of environments and those other types of groups. Again, no blame, no fault of anybody's, but I just wanted to do that thing. And by naturally doing that, I started to move away from everything else that wasn't that.
Was there anything that naturally drew you to the gym? Was there anything that...
I wanted to put on a bit of size.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a bit of muscles, to be totally honest, because I was skinny and scrawny.
Yeah.
Even from like playing football and from a young age, I was kind of skinny and scrawny. I would have got a lot of stick about that as well too, you know what I mean, coming up and growing up, like about being skinny and scrawny, and I just wanted to get a bit of size and get a bit of muscle on.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. But then once I started to get into it, I think unconsciously there was something there for me where I was looking at going, right, okay, this could be something else. Initially it was to get a job in pro gym, literally just to get a job in the gym, which I did. I used to just work behind the reception and just work in the gym, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I used to cycle down to the gym in the morning, get my cardio done. I would have cycled back up again. And then I used to go back down at around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, train, lift my weights, go back up, and then come back down at 4, and then work from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And I did that every day, training with Dave and just working in the gym. And I absolutely loved it, to be totally honest. I was happy out. I was like, right, I'm good. I'm just getting to train, I'm getting to eat, and getting to do the thing that I'm loving.
Yeah.
And I loved it at that time, to be honest, looking back.
What about, I actually seen you did like a post the other day, and it was like, something about you bodybuilding, and you were saying that like it takes a particular person to, it's the mindset behind bodybuilding. I actually didn't appreciate it until I was reading your post.
Yeah.
And you were saying how like how regimented the diet and all is, and the fitness is, and then you were saying something about Arnold as well, and I thought to myself, wow, like so much goes into that to actually do it successfully. And you won a competition.
I won that. I only did one.
I
won it was a NAB in Northern Ireland. It was a first timers category. There was 15 in the category, and I won that competition. And as 100%, like that post, what I was talking about was the discipline, I suppose, is required. Like every meal was cooked and measured. Every meal was on time. I was eating like literally every 2
grain of
hours.
rice. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Every morsel had to be weighed and measured before you put it in your mouth. No going out, no drinking. And at that time, the nutrition, I think the information and the knowledge was completely different to now. So there was a lot more, it was a lot more regimented, like things that you were not allowed. I remember in the mornings, like especially kind of getting closer to the show, I was like blending up 100 grams of porridge oats with water, throwing like a couple of spoonfuls of Udo's oil and it, drinking that, and then having, even thinking about it now, like, and having boiled turkey, 200 grams of boiled turkey with vegetables. And then every 2 hours after that, I would have turkey or fish and veg, chicken and veg. Closer I got, it was all kind of turkey, just kind of really low fat. The last 3 to 4 weeks were so challenging, like really, really challenging. You're talking about the mindset. I remember like Dave at the time, like sending Dave a message and texting him and going, I'm fucking going up a walls here. I just want to eat this, I just want to eat that. He's like, no, hang on there, we're nearly done.
Yeah.
You're nearly finished. But I remember even times like looking up the stairs and going, how am I getting up them stairs? And this was me trying to get my stuff ready to go to the gym. So there was definitely a mental challenge that was needed, and a mental kind of discipline that's needed. And for people to do that for their lives, fair play, like.
Yeah.
I did it once, really, really enjoyed it, loved the discipline around it. And I can see so much of what I took from then into my business and coaching, and even still, just with my health and fitness now, I'd be pretty disciplined in a lot of those areas still.
You said about not drinking and things there.
Yeah.
You're coming up on like 1,000 days sober?
Sober,
how's that feel, or how's that journey been?
Yeah, it's been, the initial part of it was definitely challenging for sure. Like trying to get sober and trying to find more reasons to not drink than to drink. At the start, around 2019, I was off it for a year. Lockdowns happened, went back on it again. But I've always had that kind of internal There's always, and this is the way I've kind of explained it, there's always this voice going, if you want to kind of get to the levels you want, you need to stop drinking. If you really want to excel, you need to stop drinking. If you really want to push on, there's always that internal intuition, that wee voice. So 2020, had a good kind of stab at it. Ended up having drinks again. I was off it for 6 months again, back on it. And then about 3 years ago, I was like, right, this just isn't working anymore. Why am I doing this? I just don't enjoy it anymore. It was leaving me just questioning myself. It was affecting my self-confidence. It was affecting my energy. It was impacting my energy more than anything. And there was things that I wanted to do. There was goals that I wanted to achieve. There was plans and things that I wanted to move towards. And I always felt that that was just a massive drawback to those things. About 3 years ago, as I was telling you before we come on, a friend of mine, Pat Dovely, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. Pat Dovely organised a weekend away. And I went to that weekend away and I did a plant medicine journey. And one of my intentions going down to do the plant medicine journey was to take away the need for alcohol. You know, I had a couple of different intentions. I wanted to get something from it. And it was probably about 6 weeks after that, I just stopped drinking and I haven't touched a drop since. And there's a lot of people that I know want to do the same thing. There's a lot of guys that are my age, there's a lot of guys your age as well too, that want to do the same thing. And all I can say is that give yourself the opportunity. You know, give yourself the chance. It's not going to be easy, but I think one of the biggest things that I really looked at was, what do I get to gain? You know, instead of thinking about what am I losing, because most people think, oh, I can't go out now with my friends, I can't go out here, what about holidays, what about Christmas, what about birthdays, what about all these things? What do you get to gain from not drinking? I got to gain better sleep, better energy, better health, more focus, more productivity, growth of my business, more opportunities. I found myself in environments that I wouldn't have found myself in if I had been drinking, because I would have been putting things off, procrastinating more. So it just kind of got to the point where I was like, no, this isn't what I want to do anymore. And I need to make that decision. And that's been 3 years ago now.
It's hard to believe, really, isn't it?
Yeah, again, I think if you give yourself a chance and give yourself 90 days even, no, like even 6 months, you'll feel what that's like. No, there's just literally no comparison. Even though it might only be a Friday night or a Saturday night or whatever it might be. And some people would say, but I don't really drink that much. But if you feel that you need it and you can't go without it every weekend, no, it's something to question. Or if it's impacting your energy and your focus and who you are and how you're showing up, maybe with drink or even after it, no, again, it's something that you might want to question. Again, I'm not preaching anything to anybody about alcohol. But for me, from my experience, the difference between drinking and not drinking is literally night and day.
Life-changing, nearly?
Yeah, it can be, for sure, 100%.
I feel like the positives are so massively outweigh the negatives or the benefits of drinking, because what is it really? To give you confidence and let loose a little. Other than that, what else?
And there's the thing, like, and that's such a good point, because most people will maybe have a drink because they're feeling anxious, which just makes you feel even more anxious.
Yeah.
Some people have a drink because they're feeling a wee bit, down and in the dumps. It makes you feel even worse.
Yeah.
You
think it helps, and then
you're feeling even more depressed after.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that we go towards alcohol for actually just exacerbates it and makes it even worse. Which is like, what are we doing it for then?
No, I know, it's such a social thing. I feel like, would you still get temptation and things? Is it always there?
No, it's not now. It's not. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I look at a nice pint of Guinness and think, whoa.
0-0.
That looks good.
Yeah.
0-0 creeps on in at that time. But other than that, no. Because what I automatically do is I just think about the next day. I'm like, if I was to have that pint now, I know what I'm going to feel like the next day. I know how that's going to turn out. And I know the compound effect from that again. Because anytime that I have done that, it ended up back in a spiral again, where it took me months and sometimes years to get back kind of to the point where I was like, right, enough's enough. So for that wee fleeting moment to have a nice pint of Guinness, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Now, again, am I saying that it's always going to be like that? No, because I've done that before.
Yeah.
Never drinking again, ended up drinking again, and then I felt like a twat. So now I just go, you know what, for now, I don't need it, and I'm happy without it. So
I feel like a lot of guys I know from personally my age drink for confidence, like go confidence,
Yeah.
like to talk to girls and stuff.
Yeah.
And then if you said you weren't drinking, they would nearly take the piss or joke about saying, "Oh, why you not drinking?"
Yeah.
And then what I realised is like you don't actually need it. It's actually so much easier to talk to people, I found, whenever you don't need it.
100%.
you
And
know
the
what I mean?
confidence it's not real confidence. No, you're not being yourself. No, especially the stuff that you can end up getting into
Yeah.
when you're overloaded in alcohol. It's not real confidence. If you can learn to be yourself, and if you can learn to go out and just be yourself and understand who you are and not try to be a version of somebody else, you can really get to be yourself. Because most people are comparing themselves to somebody else, especially if you're young, especially if you're going out, oh, I think I need to be this guy, or I think I need to be that guy, or I need to be this girl, or whatever. No, you just need to be you. And if you can go out and just be you, then the need for something else that gives you the stimulus to be somebody else, you don't need it.
Yeah.
So it's really like understanding kind of who you are and who am I, and do I really need this? If you can and you want to go out and have a drink and enjoy it, and it's not a problem, brilliant. But if it is, then again, maybe take a wee look at it for sure.
I seen you doing like a TEDx talk in Derry not so long ago,
Yeah.
or a couple of years ago.
Did TEDx with Gary Doherty ran the TEDx here. I think the game was around lockdown,
Yeah.
2020 I think it was.
How'd you find it?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, really, really good. I like the whole process of it. Again, kind of met a lot of good people through it. There was a vocal coach there, kind of helped us with it as well too, come all along. I learned a lot from her. I enjoyed it. It was supposed to be to a live audience, but then lockdowns happened and that wasn't going to happen. So instead of a live audience, there was an X in the wall.
Was there
A red X in the wall. And I spoke to 10 minutes to a red X in the wall. But really good process. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Because that's when you talked about like the crash to success and things.
Yeah.
And I was just saying there, like, if you can elaborate a little bit on like the adversity of how that sort everything just the TEDx talk and everything shaped your like coaching journey, I suppose.
I wouldn't say it's shaped my coaching journey. I would say what I spoke about probably shaped my coaching journey for sure. I started as a personal trainer, and just shortly after that crash, started as a personal trainer. I did the show in 2005, which is literally 20 years ago this year. And then I kind of started personal training just after that. That was in a place called Fitness First in the Strand Road in Derry. So I started personal training in there, 1-to-1. Was loving it. Like beforehand, I was working in the gym and I was working as a taxi dispatcher. I was getting paid $3.50 an hour or £3 an hour. And then I'm in the gym, like personal training clients, and all of a sudden then people are paying me at that time like £20 an hour and £25 an hour, and I was like, right, I'm actually getting paid decent money for doing something that I really love.
Love doing,
Yeah.
If someone, I hear this all the time, people like struggle to do what they want to do. I feel like you found that back then. Things. There's anything people can do, or how do they find that? How did you find your thing in fitness?
I found my thing kind of through everything that happened, but every single person lives by a unique set of values and a unique set of priorities. They're intrinsic to every single one of us, and they're unique to every single one of us. And you find your thing by understanding yourself and taking a wee bit of a deep dive and looking and seeing like what your life is really currently demonstrating is really important for you.
Yeah.
Most people, especially in society, not most, but a lot, live with the injected values of somebody else. No, they think they should be this person, they think they need to be that person, and they're not getting to fulfill what's maybe most important to them. They're not getting to do that thing. So like sitting down, I suppose, to give you advice, I didn't have that advice back then, I didn't know that back then, I just naturally gravitated towards what I loved. And it's funny because when you're doing the thing that you actually really love and value, your actions will be kind of spontaneous. You'll naturally want to go and do that thing. So for some people that might be health and fitness, it might be training, it might be in speaking, it might be in writing, whatever it might be. Like if you were to take a step back and go, what would you absolutely love to do with your life and get handsomely paid to do it? What would that be? And this is something I actually give to my clients. I say, write it out. Write out every single morning, what would I absolutely love to do in my life and get handsomely paid to do it? And see what pattern keeps appearing, see what keeps coming up. You're going to see that same pattern. It might be in that thing. Am I doing that thing right now? Well, if I'm not doing that thing right now, how can I naturally gravitate towards getting to do that thing that I'd love to do every single day of my life and get paid to do it.
Yeah.
So for me, that was in coaching at the time, which was through health and fitness. That kind of gravitated then into growing a business and fitness business and building gyms and stuff like that. But the last 20 years I've been coaching, it's slightly changed in the different forms, more around from health and fitness into just mindset and human behaviour. But it's always been there, I suppose, for the last 20 years.
I actually have a really good quote of yours that sort of fits into that, and it says like, the only three things you can control is your perceptions, your decisions, and your actions.
Yeah.
Whenever I heard that, I was sort of a bit like, hit me deep, and sort of, I can relate to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's not my quote. I've taken it from my mentor, Dr. DeMartini. But it's so true.
Yeah.
Those are the three things that you can control. Everything else is outside of you. You can control your perceptions. Your perceptions is then going to control your decisions, and your decisions are going to control your actions. And all of those things that are outside is just noise.
Yeah.
So anything that's happening around you, you can still choose to see it in a certain way. You can still choose to perceive it in a certain way. And you can still choose to decide or not, act or not.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what else is going on around you. You can interpret it in whatever way, shape or form you want. So again, going back to some of the things that we discussed, at the time it might have seemed like a crisis, but there's always a hidden blessing. And if I can go back and find the thing that I thought was challenging and see how it served, then my perception of that thing just completely shifted and changed. So maybe the negative emotion that I had around it now just neutralized. I can see that I had a massive benefit that helped me on the way to becoming who I wanted to become. And everybody can begin to do that. I'm not saying that it's easy, sometimes not, depending on the event. But there's no such thing as a one-sided event. But often we want it to be that way.
Yeah.
We want to have the positive without the negative. We want to
yeah.
have the support without the challenge, the pleasure without the pain.
Yeah.
But they come entangled. And our perception is the way to begin to shift and change how we view whatever it is that's going on.
It's like the law of polarity, I think.
Law of polarity.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's mind-blowing, isn't it, when you think about it? Like,
100%.
Yeah.
But you can't avoid it. But as human beings, we naturally try to seek the one side.
Yeah.
We naturally want like all the happiness and nothing else, or we want all the positives without the negatives. But if we can embrace the support and the challenge, again, if we can embrace both sides, then you're going to be more neutral, I suppose, which means you're not going to get the emotional volatilities, the peaks and troughs a lot of the times that most people experience because they're wanting a one-sided universe, which isn't there.
You actually touched on something interesting there about John DeMartini.
Yeah.
You got an event with him.
Yeah.
Back in last month at
last
Titanic?
month, February at the Titanic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
How'd you find that, or how'd you find
it was amazing.
The event?
Yeah, it was an amazing event. It was really, really good. Just to bring him here to Belfast. It was fantastic. We had the full day we had podcasts going on, and we had VIP roundtables going on, and then we had the event then itself. We spent 90 minutes doing a talk, and we had a sit down kind of similar to this, like a Q&A style podcast after in the hall. At the Titanic, and then they had another VIP roundtable after as well too. So yeah, getting him over was fantastic. Spent a good couple of days with him. What I really, really loved about the couple of days was actually getting for me and my wife and my daughter just to spend some time with him over breakfast and lunch and just some of his stories and him imparting some knowledge and especially with my daughter. Like he's a mentor of mine, he's someone I greatly admire. But getting him to have a conversation with her and impart some wisdom and again just having a bit of crack as well too was fantastic. Yeah, it was a great event.
Where did your guys' relationship, I guess, start off?
2016. 2008, The Secret.
He's in that, yeah.
Everybody's heard of The Secret, so he was one of the philosophers in The Secret. And then 2016, my father passed away with Parkinson's, and there was a friend of mine at the time said, get the book, The Breakthrough Experience. And I got the book, the Breakthrough Experience, and that kind of shifted my perspective on a lot of things. At the time where I was at and some of the stuff that I was going through, I probably didn't really get the most from it that I probably could, but it definitely planted some seeds. 2019 then I started getting more into his work. 2020 did his master planning for life, and then I did the Breakthrough Experience course in 2020, and some of the shifts that I got from doing that breakthrough experience course, I was like, I want to know what that was. Like, what was he doing? What was that tool? What was he teaching? As a coach, I'm always looking for something that I can take and learn and implement into working with clients. Whether that's been, I've done hypnosis, NLP, breathwork facilitation, all the different things. I'm looking for different things that I can take on and then use. And that weekend, I was like, I want to know what that is.
Yeah.
So after the weekend, I inquired then, how do I become a trained facilitator? How do I learn that method? So I signed up and did, it was like 5 14-hour days studying, and that was your entry in to studying the DeMartini method, which has had a massive impact on me as a coach, as a person. It's had a massive impact on my business, studying John's work really. And then since then I've done like multiple different courses, got to facilitate at the Breakthrough Experience in London last year. Did another 4-day course with him there on value application in life and business. So I've been studying his work now for the last 5 years, just doing different courses, and it's been transformational, to be honest. Yeah.
How has your life changed, I guess, from his teachings?
The tools, I suppose, is really my perspective, my perception, and in terms of how I see myself and how I see things that's going on around me.
Yeah.
It has really changed. So like a lot of his teachings is around, like, again, seeing like things from a different perspective, seeing things as, instead of wanting it to be this way, looking at how you can begin to use a certain situation and find the opposite in it. How is that actually serving? How is that helping? How is that benefiting? So I think the tools that I've learned from him has really shifted my perspective. It's taken my awareness up, I suppose. So when things happen, I'm able to deal with those things a bit easier in my own life. And then as a coach, working with business owners and CEOs and so many different people, I can take those tools into their lives and help them in a coaching experience to deal with some of the challenges that they're going through as well.
You probably couldn't get a better location than the Titanic Hotel as well. So much history there.
It's class.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Drawing rooms. And,
As I've said, I hadn't a clue. It was drawing rooms to the Titanic. Up the Titanic, organising this whole event. And then when we get into the drawing rooms for the event, Martin Irvine was saying, he says, do you know that this is where the drawing rooms, where they actually drew up the plans for the Titanic? I had no clue. I actually thought this was just built.
Oh, no. But there's one thing as well, you do like a podcast.
Yeah.
And I seen, and you've had loads of different guests. There's ones like Kim Calvert, you were saying.
Yeah.
John, Gráinne McCoy, Phil Graham.
Yeah.
Coach Owen Roddy, Keir Daly.
Yeah.
Where did your journey with podcasting begin?
2020, through I think it was just under the start of like one of the lockdowns. I wanted to use a podcast as a way for me to get to speak to other people, inspirational people, influential people.
Yeah.
And I suppose I used it, to be totally honest, as a way to get networking. So I wanted to network, I wanted to get into other people's environments, and I looked at the podcast as a way of doing that. I was getting doors opened to speak to people that I probably wouldn't have normally got that opportunity unless I had to go and actually meet them or knock on doors, etc. Especially people from all ends of the world. So I've had guests on from literally all over the world.
Yeah.
From different walks of life, from business to gangsters to like people here that spent 7-8 years in prison. I've literally spoke to a wide variety of different people, and I felt that the podcast was a really good opportunity for me to get into those people's, like those networks, and pick their brains and learn from them. And that's what I initially kind of had the podcast started for, which was to share stories of inspirational people that have created changes in their lives as well.
Is there anything you've taken in particular, like one major thing you've learned on a podcast from someone that you've really taken away in particular?
One major thing from, that would be hard to pinpoint, to be honest, because there's been so many different people. One of the guys that I had on in the podcast a couple of years ago stands to mind, which was a guy from Belfast, Sam Miller. He'd spent 7 or 8 years on the blanket as part of like the political struggles at that time. And I think just what I took from that was like, what's a person's willing to go through for a cause? You know, what a person's willing to suffer for something that they find meaning and purpose and a cause in. You know what I mean? What those guys experienced, what that depravity was like, living in those cells for such a long period of time. I think that conversation definitely kind of stood out for me. But then there's been loads of other conversations that I've had with different people that have also had an impact. I think that the big thing is, I suppose, has just been, again, going back into it, like the mindset around, what people will be able to kind of endure and move through for them to get to where it is that they really want to be, for them to create the changes in their lives, for them to create the changes in their business, whatever it might be. I think I love speaking to people who have done something, created something, and kind of went through the peaks and troughs and everything else, but are still on that path doing something that they love.
Do you think there's, after talking to all these people, do you think there's like a common thread or something that they all do that makes them successful at what they do? Is there something that they each all have, like a trait?
Purpose, having purpose and meaning. Like if you have something that you find purpose and meaning in every single day, if you find something that is of high value for you, that's the thing that is going to help you keep moving forward no matter what. Because anybody that's created something in their lives, whether that is in their health and fitness or their business or even in like a relationship, it's challenging. But when you're doing the thing that you actually really love, you're willing to pursue the pains and the pleasures in this pursuit. You're willing to go through the challenges and the supports in this pursuit. How you know something is really, really valuable for you and to you is you're going to go through those things and keep moving forward. If it's not that important, you'll get out at the first hurdle. When it starts to get challenging, you want a way out. But when it's important for you and you really, really value it and something that's highest in your priorities, you'll be willing to pursue the pains and pleasures, the supports and the challenges, the positives and the negatives in this pursuit. And speaking to a lot of those guys, that's the thing that I noticed with them all, is they found something that they really want to do. It's not always easy, but it's important for them and it's something that they're dedicating their life towards. And they're doing everything that they can possibly to make that happen.
Podcast is good because you have that sort of give and take. You're offering someone to have spread their knowledge whilst also getting an hour of their time for yourself. You know what I mean? There's sort of
100%.
Works both ways. Like you do an academy as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it the Mindset Junkie?
It used to be called the Mindset Junkie as the Fit Mind Academy. So I had the Mindset Junkie Academy through the lockdown. And then the academy that I have now at the moment is called the Fit Mind Academy.
Talk to me a little bit about it if someone hasn't
So
heard of it
the
before.
Fit Mind Academy is for generally kind of business driven people or career driven people who want to tap into, again, some of the things that we've even discussed here, which is different ways of looking at themselves, beginning to get themselves really aligned with understanding their values and what's actually really something within themselves that they want to fulfill and bring out, getting to understand those processes. I take everybody through those processes, how to actually determine their values, understanding what those intrinsic drivers are, and then how to begin to map out a vision for yourself that's going to be in alignment with those values. So that's done in a group environment in the academy. They have a portal with health and fitness and sleep and nutrition and all sorts on there. And then they also have all the kind of deep dive into human behaviour and mindset lessons that's in there. And then it's just a good community as well. There's good crack in there. There's a good bit of banter, a good bit of a good environment. We hook up on calls every single week, and we discuss some topics. We discuss life. We discuss challenges. There's live opportunities, Q&A to get coached by me every single week, and that's what the academy is about. And it's thriving at the minute. There's a really good group of people in there that just want something more for themselves, whether that is in their health, their fitness, finances, business, whatever it might be. It's crucial to get around the right type of people in order for that to happen.
Yeah, getting yourself with the right people, right environment, right everything really. Isn't it the same wavelength?
Yeah, as James Clear says, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behaviour. You have to get in the right environment. If you want to grow, it's essentially get around the right people who think in the same way.
And there's one wee thing I picked up here is the repetition is the first stage of learning.
Yeah, because at the start, when you're trying to create some sort of change, like if you drive a car, So when you start to drive a car, like, how many lessons do you do?
Yeah,
It's repetitive. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Now you don't even subconsciously just...
Yeah, no, it's unconscious. Most of the time you're driving down the road, you're not even thinking about driving.
Yeah.
You literally aren't.
Yeah.
Your head's away and they probably thinking about this podcast. What am I going to say? How's it going to look? All these different things. Your head's away in all different directions. So repetition is the first stage of learning, because especially as an adult, we've learned so much that has maybe not served us in a certain way. And sometimes it's changing those patterns, sometimes it's changing our perspective and things, sometimes it's changing our values. You know, the hierarchy of your values dictates your destiny. And if you've got things that are lower in your values but you want to shift and change them, then it's a repetitive process to find the benefits of changing that gets you to ultimately change, which is basically what a habit is. It's just something that you repeat kind of unconsciously a lot of the times. So repetition is the first stage of learning for sure, and what we kind of dedicate ourselves towards and what we repetitively do over time is who we become.
I have a couple of questions here we ask on every podcast.
Yeah.
But I saw, again, there's something you said I thought was really interesting. It was like why we do what we do, and the internal mental blueprint that we have. Why do you think we do what we do?
Why we do what we do is because of our values ultimately. So as I said there, our values are dictating our destiny. So whatever we find most valuable, most important to us, most priority, is what our life is currently demonstrating. And your life will always demonstrate what you find is a real priority. And why we're doing that is because of the voids that we're trying to fill. So the voids are the experiences that we've had in our lives, the judgments that we've had in our lives, and those voids are the things that we think are missing. And whatever we think is missing now, or what we thought was missing most, we're trying to fulfill. So the thing that you deem a real priority, the highest value that you have, is designed to fill the biggest void that you had. So ultimately, why we're doing what we're doing is because we're trying to fulfill voids. We're trying to fulfill the things that we think is missing or thought was missing most. As an example, let's say in business, you've a lack of leads, you've a lack of sales coming on, you've a lack of opportunity. Well, there's a void there. I now start to value putting myself out there more. I now start to value making contact with people. I now start to value getting some sort of work in, getting money in, getting income in. You're filling that void. If there's somebody that's not in a relationship and they want a relationship, there's a void there. But we have thousands of voids from the day that we're born. In fact, there's science and study that shows that there's epigenetic voids that go back generations. So we have like epigenetic tags. So we're, and a lot of the times, fulfilling voids that have been experienced generations before us. So ultimately, why we do what we do is because we're attaching purpose and meaning to the thing that we're doing, because in some way or form, it's filling something that we've thought was missing or currently experience in what we think is missing. And a void is basically a judgment. And it's missing information, essentially. So our values are dictating how we perceive, how we decide, and how we act. You filter your information, you filter your reality according to what you truly value. So do I, so does every single person. Part of our brain, it's called the reticular activating system. It filters information in and out according to what we truly value. So you perceive the world differently compared to me, compared to Ross, compared to every single person on this planet. And how we perceive, decide, and act is based on, will this bring me a greater advantage according to what I value most? Or will it bring me a greater benefit according to what I value most? So every perception, every decision, every action, every single thing that we do is based on, does this bring me more benefit than drawback, advantage over disadvantage, according to what I really prioritize? And no two people have the same values, because every single person has had different voids and a different experience coming through life. And if we can get to understand the thing that's most important to us, we can get to understand how we start to map out our vision, our goals, our aspirations, in and around what we actually prioritize, because most people are trying to be a version of somebody else instead of being themselves. And the most authentic version of you is when you begin to understand what you truly value and map your goals and your aspirations and your life and your vision in accordance with that. That's when you're going to feel like yourself.
Do you think people struggle to be themselves whenever?
100%. Yeah, for sure. Because they get caught up in the shoulds, needs to, have tos, musts. It's called imperative language, which is usually an injection of values of somebody else. the injected values of society, maybe parents, teachers, preachers, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And if you constantly live with the injected values of somebody else, you cloud your own judgment and you cloud your own vision. Because if you're basically trying to be a version of somebody else, you're not being yourself. So you're not getting to fulfill what's most important to you. And you don't want to create a vision around doing stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to think about like creating a big vision around the shit that you get stuck on that you don't like.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you start to wake yourself up and get clear on what's most important to you, and you start to see what that is, then you want to create a bigger vision, then you want to do more of it, then you want to actually bring that forward. When you're doing stuff that you love, your energy expands. You want to radiate that energy out. When you're doing stuff that you don't, it contracts, you get smaller. So the higher you go up in your values, the bigger you get, let's say, the more you want to expand that energy out. The lower you live in your values, the more you contract and get smaller. You get smaller in your energy, you get smaller in your thinking. And a lot of those behaviours will be destructive. They'll be so-called self-sabotage patterns, procrastinations, hesitations, frustrations, or some sort of immediate gratification. But have you ever found when you're doing something that you really, really love, like maybe sitting having these conversations or doing something that you feel inspired by, you're not really thinking about anything else. You just want to do that thing. And your energy's always there for it as well.
Is what you're doing with your coaching and all this, is that what you love or what is?
Yeah. So for me, coaching, speaking, teaching, those are the things that I really, really love. And those are the things that I automatically, naturally, like spontaneously want to go and do. When I'm doing those things, my energy's always there. I've always got energy for it. So I'll give you an example. On Thursday I was down, I was given a 3-hour workshop for a company in Dublin. I met up with a client at 6 o'clock that morning in Dublin, went and trained, hit the gym, went and did the 3-hour workshop. And then we had some conversations after. I went to the client's home and did a training session with him. And then I drove home, and my energy, I got home at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I still felt like, right, I could keep doing more of this. My energy was there. Your energy is going to be there. It's going to be high. It's going to be present when you're doing the thing that you love. And it's a real, like, not subtle, but it's a real signal that's giving you an example, and it's giving you feedback automatically of, am I on point or am I not on point? Am I doing the thing that I want to do or am I not doing the thing that I want to do? Your energy will tell you. There's other things that you can look at as well, for sure. But your energy is a telltale sign.
The one thing I was going to say is, the way I ask in every podcast is that, do you think what is success to you?
Success, again, it kind of gets bandied about as something. And to be honest, I'm not really too concerned about it, to be totally honest. I'm more interested in doing the thing that I love. If I'm doing the thing that I love, if I'm doing the thing that I want to do, if I'm coaching, teaching, speaking, if I'm having that impact and my business is growing because of that, then technically I'm successful. Do you know what I mean? I'm comparing myself to myself. I'm comparing my actions and my daily priorities to the thing that I want to do. If I compare it to somebody else, then I'm not going to feel successful.
Yeah.
No, if I keep comparing me to somebody else, then I'm not being me.
Yeah.
So if you can compare your own daily actions to your own highest priorities and stick to that and stop comparing yourself to somebody else outside of yourself, then you're going to feel more successful, let's say.
That's interesting, because every time we ask it, there's a different viewpoint on it.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, how has it maybe changed with yourself from back then, back in when you're 21, 22, young man looking for a purpose, I suppose. And
100%, aye.
Yeah.
Well, even then at that time, I suppose, trying to create some sort of business, trying to create finance, trying to create money for myself, trying to create a life, essentially was what I was trying to do. And if I look back though, even over the last 20 years, I think the big thing for me has always been having that autonomy to just do the thing that I want to do. That's what's most important. For me, that's what's most important. If I get to do the thing that I want to do, and I'm not living a life that somebody else thinks I should be living, that's successful in whatever shape or form that might be. For some people that's as a coach, as a business owner. For some people that's as a father, as a mother.
Yeah.
Every single person's going to have something unique to themselves that they want to fulfill. And if you're getting to do that, and you love doing that, well then technically you're successful.
Last three for you.
Yeah.
This is something else we're asking every podcast, but is there or what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Ever received? Ooh,
Quite a broad brush, but anyway, anyway you think.
ever, I couldn't say that there's one single piece of advice that I've ever received has been like the most important, because I've taken things from so many different people that I've learned and I've used and I've implemented. But I would probably say, like, if I was to give a piece of advice to someone that would probably get them on not a better path, but kind of get them to be themselves, is really beginning to understand your values, is really beginning to understand what your life is demonstrating is most important for you. Really beginning to understand who you really are. What is it that you're trying to fulfill? What's most inspiring to you? Do you have the energy? Like, where are you focused, disciplined, reliable? What is it that your life is demonstrating is really important for you? And if you can get to understand what those values are, then you're going to feel more like yourself. You're going to feel more authentic. Because if you constantly minimize yourself to somebody else, you're going to keep yourself in a pit. And you're never going to be yourself. So understanding what you really, really value and seeing what your life is demonstrating is most important for you, and then creating a life around that, mapping out your goals, your vision, your business, your family, whatever it might be, around the area that's most important for you. I would say that would probably be the thing that I've learned, and the thing that I love teaching other people, is getting really, really clear on what the hierarchy of your values actually are, and then learning to create whatever it is that you want to create in and around that, because that's when you're going to find more momentum, you're going to have more focus, you're going to have more energy, you're going to be more disciplined, and you're going to want to do that and fulfill that.
One more for you. If
All the way.
the 21 or 22-year-old version of you, or if a young person came up to you in the street asking for a piece of advice, maybe on business things, what would you say, or what would you give them? Maybe they don't know their purpose, or they don't know, or maybe a bit lost in their directions, right?
Yeah,
you would say?
I think that everybody knows their purpose. I believe that everybody, like I was that guy 100%, felt lost, didn't know who I was. Listen to yourself, I think. Sometimes take that wee bit of a step back and listen. Your intuition a lot of times is screaming at you. It was screaming at me. I didn't know how to listen to it. I didn't know what it was. And your intuition is the unconscious information trying to become conscious. And a lot of the times we have that information within ourselves. Trust yourself a wee bit more. I think especially as a young person, learn to listen to what your intuition or your energy or whatever it might be is guiding you towards. You know within yourself what you feel is important for you. You know within yourself what you want to do. I think have the faith and the strength and the belief within yourself to listen to yourself. Without having to go here or there and listen to all sorts of people. They're all needed. I've used and still use coaches and mentors 100%. But I think if I was a young guy or a young girl looking back and is kind of feeling lost, take a step back. Have a wee bit of faith and trust in yourself. Learn to listen to your intuition. Learn to listen to the subtle changes and nudges that you're probably getting a lot of the times that are telling you you're on the right path, you're not on the right path. And more than anything, I think learn to understand that whatever it is that you're experiencing, you can use it. Whatever it is that you feel is challenging, there's also a benefit in it. How's that serving you? What are you learning? What are you adapting to? How would that benefit you now? How's that benefiting you in the future? What are the things that you're finding as a challenge right now? What is that actually teaching you? Is it getting you to move directions? Is it getting you to move into a different life, a different course, a different path? Whatever it might be, whatever that challenge, that setback is, find the benefit in it, find the hidden blessing, find how it's serving you, and then use that for yourself to move forward. But I think more than anything, have a wee bit of faith, trust, and belief in yourself, and learn to listen to what that information is there within you, trying to become conscious and trying to guide you. And that's what your intuition is. It's the unconscious information that we all have, trying to become conscious to get us to see both sides. And if you listen to that, it'll help guide you on the path for sure.
Seamus, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Is there any events or anything coming up? Is there anything that maybe coming up, people can maybe come and see you and talk to you, or?
There's I don't know when this is going out, so there's a webinar I've got coming up on Thursday, but then there's probably going to be another event coming up I'm going to host for myself in Edmonton here in Derry in September. Other than that, just in terms of my own podcast or coaching or the Fit Mind Academy, etc. That's the only thing that's kind of ongoing.
Yeah.
Where people can either come and listen to me or ask for advice or coaching or something similar.
Seamus, thank you so much.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
No, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day on a Sunday as well for sitting down with us.
I really enjoyed it. Really good conversation. I hope that your listeners get something from it and can take some sort of wisdom or nugget or something and create some sort of change themselves if that's what they need.
Anything else you want to say when you're here or anything anything else you want to touch on?
No, just again, if you're looking to follow me either through my social media channels like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, go on my podcast. If you have a question, if you're looking for some advice, reach out and have a conversation for sure.
Seamus, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I hope you guys have enjoyed Seamus' story, find out more about him, the events and stuff coming up. I think we'll probably release this in like a week or two's time or something. We'll do a wee bit of build up. But no, thank you so much for coming on. You guys have been watching the official Young Hunger podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one.